Next, we turn our attention to Mr. Emad Saleem, Director at Limitless Consulting, who will be addressing ESG reporting. Please welcome him on stage.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you can hear me and I'm audible to everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank you, all of you. It's an honor for me to stand in front of you and to discuss the new things, the emerging environment and social governance. We embark as a journey of explorations and reflections, delving into a concept that is not just a philosophy, but a collective responsibility, that is sustainability development. Today, we embark on a collective exploration of what it means to the urgency of our present needs with the responsibility of safeguarding the possibilities of tomorrow. So we all are here to discuss and understand what could be the potential impact on our activities, what we are doing. So let us immerse ourselves in a discussion that transcends the borders and disciplines, conversations that are not just dialogue, but pathways to actionable change. As we navigate the complex terrain of sustainable development, let this conference be a beacon of enlightenment, sparkling ideas, fostering collaborations, and inspiring the kind of transformation, thinking that propels societies a sustainable and harmonious future. How we can achieve all these things, basically, this is what I want to navigate in my presentation today. So, introduction to sustainability and ESG, the drivers for ESG reporting, country context, and the principles for sustainability disclosures, and what organizations should focus on. So let us first dive into the definition of sustainability itself, which is itself quite comprehensive. And if we go through the details, probably we can see it says that sustainability development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This definition itself is quite comprehensive, and it shows that how we want to excel and how we want to save things for our future generations. Then similarly, on the same lines, the ADX ESG disclosure guidelines says that sustainability at the corporate level has evolved from a notion of corporate social responsibility to become strategic priorities for companies to seize opportunities, reduce cost, and build competitive edge. Sustainability management is an integrated management of economical, social, environment performances for the purpose of maximizing benefits to the stakeholders. Basically, when we drill down or when we squeeze it to the ESG, from the sustainability to the economic, social, and governance, we will talk about each factors, what we can cover in those areas. But itself, what we could achieve from this ESG reportings and disclosures. So basically, the factor is like it provides an assessment of the sustainability initiatives taken by the company and the impact on an investments. Going forward, I will briefly discuss on the new trends, how the companies and the new venture capitalist wants to discuss and ask for your ESG ratings and indices, that whether you are complying with that, are you benchmarking your portfolios, are you benchmarking your operations with those things or not. So we'll be slightly covering those points as well. So basically, ESG reporting assess the performance of the company from an environment, social, and governance perspectives. ESG supports the companies in presenting holistic and well-rounded, diversifying focus instead of solely looking at the financials. So we all know, and that is quite standard, that we produce our standard audit statements which provides the numbers. But now the whole world is more keen to understand how those numbers are coming. Are we impacting our dear nature, and how things can be improved, and what we are saving for our future generations. ESG allow and save the integration of the company values with its strategies and operations. So how we can achieve those things again, and if I may ask, who is responsible for the ESG? There is only one answer. It's a top-down approach. It starts with the board, where you have to develop strategies, then you have to have operational teams that can implement, and vice versa, it can impact on the overall economy itself. So basically, when we talk about environment, social and governance, then there are multiple factors that could cover under those areas. We are just, for an example purposes, highlighting few of the areas. That is, in terms of environment, these criteria can be covered, which is environmental management, waste and water management, supply chain, energy consumption, carbon footprint, direct and indirect emissions, and biodiversity. Similarly, for the social, as we all work together in an organization, so there could be an impact and ethos on various individuals. So what the organization is doing for its employees, training and development, how the operations are dealt in terms of health and safety. Are we giving the right environment? Is it good for them or not? Are we an equal opportunity employer? Human rights, data privacy, anti-corruption. Again, these are some of the things under the social criteria which we have highlighted. Similarly, on the governance lines, already we are working on it. There is a recent guidelines on the corporate governance itself, and there was like one checklist exercise done by the CB itself. So which has like the board of directors, committees, transparency, proper controls and audits, reporting standards, shareholder rights. Again, in isolation, we were doing couple of things, like in terms of the organizations where engineering and most of the like a human resource sort of things, they are into the health and safety. There are certain benchmarks, KPIs for them, but again, those things were in isolation. Now, under the ESG guidelines, everything is coming and they are benchmarking, and there shall be a peer review. The disclosure will help to assess how the industry is moving and how we can operate in those dimensions. I would like to touch base on the GRI guidelines here, which provides the details in terms of there are some foundation disclosures, and then there is like industry disclosures and material topics. So when you are doing this exercise, you will assess what are applicable on us or not. So it is not on the greenwashing side, but you need to understand what is applicable on us and what is the right thing which we can disclose. So basically, I just want to touch base one survey with you. One of the big four firm has recently conducted a survey where they have asked, does your organization report on ESG in any of the following ways? So which is like where 28% of the organization indicated that they are not reporting anything on the ESG. 41% says yes, we are reporting as part of their annual reporting. 20% says yes, they have CSR reporting, so they are doing as part of their corporate social responsibility reporting. 25% says they have standalone ESG reports. Some 5% have other things to disclose. They are doing it in other manners. They are putting it on their websites or through emails, but there is no comprehensive or a standalone sort of thing. Then there is no immediate plan, so 28% of the companies are not doing it. If we see, then cumulatively it's over 100%. It's because the accumulative percentage is over 100%. It's because some of the companies have chosen more than one option, so that is why it's going. Now, what are the drivers of ESG reporting? Why a company or an organization should implement ESG? So what we can benefit, is it beneficial for us? Is it a requirement? How? What could be the driving forces that guide us to, or that ask us to implement those things? So we have highlighted eight areas. The first one is current and upcoming regulations. So I will discuss few things. There is one task force on the sustainability. They are coming up with the guidelines. Then we have like ESCA guidelines and requirements for the ESG reporting. So there are multiple factors which can drive us or push the organization for the ESG reporting. Similarly, the reputation booster. When we are comparing peer with peer and the organizations with the organizations, then people used to have these kind of lenses to understand whether what they are contributing to the overall areas and how they are impacting the sustainable development. So this is something which is very critical. Then alignment with the UAE vision. So as a company, you can inform that yes, we are in line with the UAE vision. There is a net zero commitment. So are we complying? Whether we have all these expertise and operations and controls available so that we can meet whatever the countrywide exercise has been taken off and whatever the master plan is. Then we have some SDGs. When you do the mappings, you then compare it with the SDGs and you select some of them. which is in line with your social responsibility as well, but overall it is impacting on your ESG reporting. Then enhanced risk mitigation. So when we talk about the risk mitigation, again, it's like my colleague has discussed the climate risk. There could be other factors which should be taken care of. Then customer base, most of the customers, the young generations and the consumers are more into this ESG sort of thing. They usually see whenever they are assessing in terms of their portfolio management, in terms of their investment management, in terms of their selection of any particular products or services, they usually inquire. This is the global phenomenon now. Then the talent retentions. We have seen, and there are certain researchers where the good employees usually select an employer or choose an employer based on the ESG reporting, and if they can help in contributing something back to the climate and back to the future generations. Then profitability supporter, if we have a proper device plan, again, as I have explained you from the top-down approach, if the strategy is there, if the plan is there, and if there is like proper review mechanism, set the KPIs for each department, what we want to achieve, then yes, it could be in terms of your profitability support. Again, the last thing is an edge in a competitive market. You can always say, this is what we are contributing back to our stakeholders, to our industry. Why is it is required now? ESG in UAE. Basically, as per the Article 76 of the Corporate Governance Guidelines issued by the Security and Commodity Authorities, UAE has mandated all the PJSCs must submit an annual sustainability report. So this is the requirement. That this was initially started back in 30th June 2021, where they have expected the first standalone report. Then later on, with respect to 2022 and onwards, they have given the revised timelines, and they have said that you should submit your ESG reporting within 90 days. 90 days after the end of your financial calendar or before the company's annual general meeting. Again, itself, it emphasized that while we have annual general meeting discussions, the investors and the stakeholders ask multiple questions in terms of your financial statements, what you have achieved, your financial KPIs, but now they want to propose and now they want to inculcate this thing that such questions should be asked in terms of your sustainability or ESG reporting. Now, the standard guidelines, basically, there are certain international standards and there are certain local standards for ESG reporting. In terms of the international standards, the Global Reporting Initiatives, GRI standards, initially there was an ADEX guidelines. They have also referred that if the companies wish to comply, they can use the GRI standards, which itself is quite good, which is like Corporate Governance Code updated by ASCA in 2020. Then we have Dubai Declaration Sustainability Finance launched in 2016. Then we have DFM ESG Reporting Guide, ADX ESG Disclosures Guidance Principle. In this region itself, it is coming from a top-down. We have discussed the top-down approach itself in an organization-wide level, but itself on a country-wide level, it is coming from the country authorities itself, and it's a global initiative they are taking care of. So based and in cognizant with the requirements, they have developed a workforce. That workforce name has Sustainable Finance Working Group. So basically the idea is every ministry, every respective regulatory authority, every exchange should have some members in those task force group which can discuss how sustainability and ESG can be promoted in their respective domains and how the reporting guidelines can be issued. So based on this, we have the SFG includes, this working group includes the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Climate Change and Environment, the Office of the UAE Special Envoy for Climate Change. Then we have different financial services regulatory authorities in UAE, starting from the Central Bank of UAE, then Security and Commodity Authority. Then we have FSRA as a financial offshore financial service regulator. Then we have ADGM. Then similarly on UAE exchange, we have Abu Dhabi Security Exchange, DFM and NASDAQ. Similarly, based on this, as I explained you, the idea is to come up with the principles. There are 4 disclosure principles which they have asked or inculcated that these are the draft principles right now which we will touch base. But the idea is that every organization, every regulator should come up with their own rules, their own principles, their own regulations, but they should abide with a high level principle which has the 4 key areas, which is internal controls. So whenever you are disclosing anything or whenever you are doing something or complying with your ESG plan, your internal controls should be in line, or your internal controls should have embedded those controls that can achieve those tasks. When we talk about the internal controls, let's talk about system, internal communications and reporting. So you must have proper reporting lines, you must have proper systems to identify your KPIs and to record and report your KPIs. Then we have different disclosure requirements. It says that it should be transparent, the materiality level should be defined, relevance, if those SDGs or those areas which you have mapped as high risk or material risk, are those relevant to you or not? Then you have a clarity on those areas. Then comparability. So if you are providing something, you should have the units for that one, the timelines for those. So these are the critical things which they have asked, or there should be some commitment from the respective institutions. Then operating style, it again talks about your governance system, your strategies, risk management and matrices and targets. Similarly, transparency, when you are disclosing anything, if you have changed or you have come up with certain products, or you are saying we are complying with the products, or we are using the services from a vendor which is in line with the ESG and they are following the sustainability requirements, then you have to disclose the exact name, classification, objectives and strategies. Then risk disclosures, what could be the material disclosures for that one? If there is any marketing material, those should be in line. Let's suppose if you have implemented some new initiatives in 2023, then you have to be very transparent and you have to inform rather than you are going back from 2022 or 2020. So these things needs to be properly documented. Now, I think probably this could be potentially my last slide, but here we will discuss and touch base on what should organization do. Like in terms of achieving different things, or how we can achieve if we want to do it, because we have this promise to ourselves that from this conference we can inculcate and we can give you some initiatives that how you can implement in your organization. So in terms of that, it starts with identify. Then map materiality, assess, plan, communicate, implement, review, report, and repeat. Please allow me to say a few words or describe you something on identify. How you can identify these areas. First of all, as I explained you, there are different standards, there are different guidelines. So you can pick and choose whatever is relevant for you. Mostly in the industry, what we have seen is like GRI standards are being followed, which itself is quite comprehensive. Similarly, you have to identify those things, then you have to map your materiality. There are certain industries which the guidelines are available for in respect to their materiality. GRI has not come up with any guidelines on the materiality for financial institutions, but they have issued a circular that in 2020 they have started the work. So it will make easy for our journey to implement once that guidelines will be available, because right now we can pick and choose certain material areas, certain risk areas, but when we have a defined guidelines, then everyone has to map or everyone has to classify those material risks. Let's talk about carbon emission, whether it is respectively directly related to our organization or not. So this is something, or there could be anti-bribery or anti-corruption. So these things, are these directly relevant for us or not? So there could be different material areas which the company has to assess. Right now, we don't have any specific guidelines, but there is like a comprehensive guidelines from GRI. So what happens is like, again, it's a top-down approach. You identify the risk. There will be an exhaustive list. Then you discuss with your peers, managements. Then you shortlist those things based on what your peers have disclosed. Then what could be the direct impact? What could be its impact on your organization, on your employees? And then you can shortlist few of the material areas. Now, materiality is just an exercise. Let's suppose you have come up with like 5 areas that these are material for us. Then what you have to do is you have to start devising a plan, because it's not like before 90 days you have to submit a report. It's a complete journey, it's a complete cycle. If you want to establish something and if you want to maintain something, let's suppose you have identified that We don't have compositions. The compositions, gender composition is not there, and we want to achieve it. So at the last 11th hour, you cannot achieve that. So you have to discuss those plans with your HR, that this is what we want to achieve. We want to have like these kind of resources. If you want to go for the green light or something more on those lines, then again you have to devise a plan. Then you have to set the KPIs. You have to discuss the budgets. You have to allocate the budgets. Those budgets should be allocated. So all these things comes in your plan, and then that plan should be well communicated with the budgets and everything, and then you can start implementing those things. So it's a complete life cycle, it's a complete journey. Then you can review it, what you have achieved, what you have done, whether are you in line with your plans or not, and then you can report and repeat. So this is not a one-time exercise. This is like a detailed exercise which you have to do. Repeat means that if you have not achieved something, then you can reassess your plan, and then you can always go back and you can always update your plans, that this is what we have planned, this is what we have achieved so far, and this is something which we can do further. So this ESG is a complete life cycle, complete journey, and it is like a repetitive cycle which you have to do. I thank you all for giving us and allowing us to present this thing. As per my closing remarks, all I have to say is that ESG is a continuous journey. On that requires commitment, collaboration, and shared vision. We cannot do this in isolation. So embrace ESG not merely as a set of guidelines, but as a guiding ethos, a compass steering you towards future where profit is not an odds with a purpose. So it should be more in line with the commitments and something for our future generations. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to.